out there are going to want to advertise to that geographic area. Now here I am. I mean, I'm offering this in, again, the spirit of friendship and cooperation. You guys have, I don't think, ever endorsed me in years, so we don't always see eye to eye. So here I am giving you, I mean, this is truly my best advice. This is my best advice, offered sincerely, and this is my best advice, and this is what I would do if I was in your shoes, and it's frankly what I'm endeavoring to do, because I'm going to endeavor to make my web page, once I get the Wikipedia thing figured out, the next step is to figure out how to make it customized, make it so that an individual constituent can customize, when they go to John Culberson's webpage as their congressman, they can get a customized feed that only tracks the legislation that they are interested in, the issues that they care about. When they log on or they receive an e-blast from me, that it will be highly customizable to just what you're interested in. But it's only the things that you care about. Because otherwise you get buried, the information overload is so much, you just can't. There's so much out there that until you really tailor it, this may be the only version, the only kind of bottled water I like. And these are the only products I see, or the only pieces of information I see. And it's possible now with the technology. And people will expect it. And I think evolution and the market forces will drive the Chronicle and others in this direction.
They will. I mean, the drawback to it is that people can shut themselves off from a better product. For instance, if they choose only to see this product, they may never see a competitor that might offer something new, or might offer a new flavor, or might offer vitamins.
That's their own free will.
Yeah.
It's their own free will. And they'll also shut out certain columnists.
Right.
And they won't read them. And it'll also give you then a good clue about who's reading what in the Houston market. What columnists, what news stories, what particular angles or coverage is of particular interest, not only to the city as a whole, but specific areas of the city.
Right. That we can tell now. I mean, you can get a pretty good read on, well, you can get an absolute read on how many people are looking at any given story. And you can also tell, to a large extent, where that traffic comes from. And every afternoon in our news meetings, the online editor will, basically start the meeting with a report on what people are looking at today, what blog posts are most popular, what columns are most popular, what stories are getting the most traffic. And sometimes he'll say, this is organic traffic. It's just coming because people are interested in the story here, and they're either, telling their friends about it or sending it to their friends. Other times, we'll get a spike on something, and Dean will say, we're getting, 100,000 page views on this story, but, half of that is coming from Drudge, who saw the story.
You can trace it back.
Right, or half of it's coming from Huffington Post, which saw the story and linked to it. So you can tell that now.
Right. It's already there. All the pieces are there.
I mean, and just yesterday there was a piece that was either in the Washington Post or the New York Times about hyper-local websites and how they're, sort of the new wave of journalism, and how you get reports that, go as specifically as your own block, and you can, sign on and find out, what restaurants open, however many blocks from your house, and what police reports have been filed. And the problem with it is it's a two-edged sword. Is advertisers want the specificity of the granular detail, the neighborhood. If you've got a restaurant in this zip code, you really want your message going to people who live in that zip code.
Exactly.
But then, depending on the business, the smaller numbers don't work for you. So it works both ways.
But it will. I think you'll find that that's the natural direction that it's going to go, particularly as we move into the grid net. We're going to move beyond the internet. Probably within the next 5 to 8 years, the internet will be too slow, and there's the next step will be what's called grid net, which is internet that runs for everybody at gigabyte speeds, where the connection time is so fast. And this will also happen. What I'm describing to you is going to have to television stations are going to have to do the same thing. And it'll again be highly personalized, because what they're going to do is this is a quantum wire, and I always carry several of these with me and hand them out everywhere I go. This is from Rick Smalley's lab at Rice University, and this one's for y'all, because that is going to revolutionize the future. I'm serious. That's for you. That is a quantum wire, which is the future, and this is what all electrical wire will be be made of in the future. Will revolutionize every electrical device. Nano is my other great passion. I'm working hard to help promote and accelerate the Alliance for Nano Health, to use nanotechnology to identify and cure human diseases at the earliest stages. They're having great success with it. And to help the Rice quantum wire project that they're using to, these wires are carbon-60 molecules woven together in a tube like this, and the electricity travels ballistically down the center of the tube. There is no conduction, so there is zero loss of electrons due to heat or resistance or electromagnetic radiation. I think 12% of electricity is lost now per, I think every 200 miles they lose like 20% per 200 miles, that's the ratio? Yeah, 20% of electricity is lost every 200 miles. It's pushed by the voltage down these old primitive power lines. And when they're made out of quantum wires, theoretically that can carry 1,000,000 times the voltage or electricity that's carried down those old big giant power lines. They prefer to say maybe up to 10,000 times the electricity down a wire the width of your little finger from New York to Los Angeles with zero loss of electrons. And that revolutionizes everything. It changes every electrical device. It also allows us each, again, following the same model. Again, Mr. Jefferson, core Republican principles. I'm in charge of my information. I'm in charge of my life, my home, my electricity. The quantum wire that Rick Smalley envisioned would allow a distributed electrical grid that will allow you, John, to have a device at home the size of a washing machine using flywheel technology, for example, where you could buy electricity off the grid at night when it was cheap, store it, and use it during the day to run every device in your home, including charge up your electric car, and have enough electricity left over to sell back to the grid. A distributed network like that, and I think Rick Smalley estimated 30 to 40, I think maybe 40% of the homes in America, allows us to completely be rid of all oil imports from the Middle East. We tell Saudi Arabia to go, we don't need your oil anymore. We're free. And clean, efficient, transport energy as energy instead of mass. Right now we're driving it in big, dangerous gasoline trucks, one of which almost hit me on the Gulf Freeway this morning. Would have been quick, but it would have been ugly, burned up the asphalt. Very dangerous way to transport fuel, and this changes all that. So it's a great passion of mine as well. This changes everything, and the GridNet, this will allow fiber optic, quantum wires, will allow information, the digital information to flow so fast at gigabyte speeds and the devices become so small. These are going to become clunky. These get smaller and faster. This thing can receive streaming video. This is my campaign device. This is federal. It's like George on Seinfeld. I have to keep the world separate.
What are those two?
This is a BlackBerry. This was my campaign one. This is my federal. And I just keep them completely separate. It's like, have you ever watched Seinfeld where George couldn't let the girlfriend go visit George's apartment? Yeah, I don't watch much television. I love Seinfeld and Raymond. I just absolutely love Raymond. The old Raymond reruns in Seinfeld in college football. And 24. I actually am hooked on 24. It's a great show. But nevertheless, once the faster and faster the internet goes, the easier it's going to be for your customers and for me to design, for you to design the Chronicle, for me to design my web page as an elected official, so that I'm providing the information that they're interested in for their neighborhood, for their local city. I represent most of the independent cities in Houston and Harris County. It's got to become you got to let the consumer drive us. Just surrender. Just go ahead and let them, because it's going to happen.
Now, a lot of what you're talking about is dependent on the internet, which started out as a federal project, continues to be something of a federal project.
Well, yeah, the Defense Department. DARPA. It was a DARPA.
Yeah.
It was a DARPA
now,
project.
I'm curious. I mean, you have a very your view of what the federal government should do is very limited.
To the Constitution.
I'm curious to know, what your thoughts are on what the federal government's role should be in this technological rollout as moving forward, and just on other